This video is part of a series that introduces the critical fundamentals of the line industry. Each video has been developed to augment your training and advance your familiarity with line work. Use them as a reference tool to increase your awareness of what you encounter every day in the field. Almost every day, someone will ask you, "What do you do for a living?" And if your answer is, "I'm a line worker," it's expected that the person asking the question will respond, "That's a pretty dangerous job." To the general public, working up in the air, often at great heights, very frequently surrounded by potentially lethal live wires, is not something they want any part of. Furthermore, the statistics help foster the impression that line work is a job that brings with it numerous risks. Being a line worker is indeed the 9th riskiest job in America. You have a greater chance of losing your life on the job as a line worker than if you opted for a career in law enforcement. The goal of the line construction industry is that every worker be able to enjoy their retirement after a long and rewarding career in the trade, all without incident. To make that a reality is why professionals have developed work rules, employee training, best practice procedures, aerial equipment, and safety devices. All of these are designed with only one purpose: to protect line workers from the hazards associated with their jobs. Included among these vital improvements to the work environment are all the instructional presentations that form this series, along with another set of videos solely devoted to human performance training. When discussing provisions designed to make the workplace safer, you'll frequently hear the term PPE. This stands for Personal Protective Equipment. The items that one wears to protect themselves from hazards are PPE. For a line worker, a hard hat, work gloves, safety glasses, special footwear, a safety harness, arc-rated clothing, a high-visibility vest are all part of PPE. Whereas hot sticks, grounds, hoses, and blankets are all essential to safely perform line work and certainly are protective, they are not PPE, since they're not worn by the worker. All PPE is of critical importance. Each has a designated purpose. It would not be wise to think of any item as being more essential or more valuable than another. One needs all the PPE components to be protected against potential dangers. While line workers perform numerous functions every day, the majority of line work involves the handling of energized secondary and distribution circuits. For this work, additional PPE is required, specifically rubber gloves and sleeves. Rubber gloves and sleeves require special care and protection in order to remain effective and to perform as designed. Proper storage of rubber gloves and sleeves will extend their useful life. So too does all the other PPE, in addition to the various tools and equipment that are mandatory in order to make line work less hazardous. These all need to be maintained, stored, and used properly. All rubber gloves and sleeves are not the same. The thickness of the rubber varies depending on the voltage. The higher the voltage, the thicker the rubber needs to be. To be afforded the proper protection, you must wear the gloves and sleeves rated for the voltage to which you will be exposed, whether that voltage be calculated phase to phase or phase to ground. On every rubber glove and every sleeve there's a label. The label describes the class of the item. For gloves, this label is on the cuff. Gloves and sleeves are designated a class based on the maximum voltages they can be used at. Gloves start at 500 volts, but the lowest rated sleeves available for use are at 1000 volts. Class 00 gloves are suitable for up to 500 volts. Class 0 gloves and sleeves can be used up to 1000 volts. Class 1 are rated up to 7500 volts or 7.5 kV. Class 2 up to 17 kV. Class 3 up to 26.5 kV. Class 4 up to 36 kV. Since the majority of the distribution circuits in the Northeast are in the range of 13,000 volts, most gloves and sleeves that are issued are Class 2. Memorizing the values of each class of glove and sleeve is not essential, since in addition to its class, the label on the glove or sleeve will also include the voltage rating. These labels are also color-coded, with each voltage class being a different color. The label for 00 is beige. For 0, it's red. For Class 1, it's white. For Class 2, it's yellow. Class 3, it's green. And for Class 4, it's orange. Since the labels also state the voltage level of the item, it's also not essential to know which color label signifies what voltage. However, there is a simple way to remember this. The phrase, "run with your gloves on," can help. The order of the colors corresponds to the first letter of each word in that sentence. The label also describes which of the two types of rubber was used in the manufacture of that very glove or sleeve. An item labeled Type 1 is made from natural rubber. Natural rubber is not resistant to ozone. Constant exposure over time to ozone causes rubber to dry rot and crack. Many people confuse ozone resistant with ultraviolet resistant. Ozone is a more powerful oxidant than oxygen, and, like oxygen, it's present in the atmosphere, but it has nothing to do with the rays of the sun. The concentration of ozone is increased by electrical disturbances, such as lightning, an arc flash, or even welding. Type 1 gloves and sleeves, being made from natural rubber, are less rigid and bend more easily than Type 2 rubber goods. This becomes an important consideration at higher voltages where the material must be thicker. Constant improvements in both gloves and sleeves by the major manufacturers have made great strides to make these items more flexible and to be far less cumbersome than they were even 10 years ago. A Type 2 glove or sleeve is made from synthetic rubber, known as Salcor. Whether made from natural rubber or synthetic rubber, rubber gloves must be used together with leather gloves that are placed over them. These outer gloves are known as protectors, or simply leathers. A rubber glove is placed inside the protector. As their name implies, the leather glove protects the rubber glove against punctures, cuts, or from coming in contact with harmful chemicals that can deteriorate the rubber. Rubber gloves come in numerous styles and lengths. The most common glove is known as a straight cuff. These will become slightly wider going back from the palm of the glove. The top or opened end of the glove is known as the cuff. For a straight cuff, the glove is cut straight across where one inserts their hand. There are gloves that become significantly wider near the cuff. This makes it easier for the sleeve to be placed under the glove. This style of glove is known as a bell cuff. The higher voltage gloves need to be longer when measured from the fingers to the cuff. For Class 0 and Class 00, the shortest gloves are 11 inches. Whereas the shortest Class 2 gloves are 14 inches. Class 3 and Class 4 gloves are only available in 16 and 18-inch lengths. Longer gloves, because of their greater overall length, can extend past the forearm and close to the crease of the elbow. To prevent the cuff of the glove and the sleeve under it from bunching up at that point, the cuffs of longer gloves are often cut at an angle. This is known as a contour cuff. In addition to various lengths and cuff styles of gloves, gloves come in different sizes. The label on the glove will indicate the glove size. Very many people mistakenly think that glove sizing has to do with the length of the fingers. To determine your glove size, take a fabric tape measure and stretch it around the palm of your hand. The resulting measurement is your glove size. Gloves are available in half sizes up to size 11. The smallest size is size 7. The largest gloves are size 12. Always measure both your hands. It is indeed possible both your hands may be a different size. All of the manufacturers of gloves have the capability to custom make gloves that can be worn by someone with a malformed or irregularly shaped hand. Virtually every glove, regardless of voltage, design, length, or type of rubber, is available in every size. For lower voltage gloves, which are thinner and less stiff than those Class 2 and above, one should wear gloves that exactly match the measurements of their hand across the palm. To make it easier to move one's fingers inside the thicker gloves, It's best to add a ½ inch to the measurement, which will provide added dexterity. If your preference is to wear cotton liners under the rubber gloves, from keeping your skin from contacting the rubber, you may want to explore an even larger sized glove. Protectors and rubber gloves have to match up. Protectors will be labeled with the size rubber glove for which they are compatible. An improperly sized protector will make it difficult to have any feel in your fingers. However, every bit as important as the size of the protector is the exposed distance between the cuff of the protector and the cuff of the rubber glove. Leather protectors are not as effective an insulator as are rubber gloves. Bear in mind, the protectors can get wet or dirty, in which case their insulating capabilities diminish further. The sole purpose of the leather protectors is to prevent the rubber gloves from becoming damaged. They serve no electrical function. You may often hear protectors referred to as keepers. The protectors, being on the outside of the rubber gloves, actually come into contact with the energized wire or hardware. They can conduct electricity. The gap between the edge of the leather protector and the rubber glove serves to prevent the electricity from tracking from the protector to the rubber glove. This is known as the reveal. For the low voltage Class 0 and Class 00, the gap only needs to be ½ inch. For a Class 1 set of rubber gloves and protectors, there needs to be a 1-inch wide space. For a Class 2 pair, that separation has to be a minimum of 2 inches. For the voltages associated with a Class 3 set of gloves, it becomes 3 inches. For the highest voltage gloves, the Class 4, the leather glove needs to end 4 inches before the rubber glove ends. Even with this separation, electricity can track from the leather glove up onto the rubber glove. This is precisely the reason sleeves must be worn inside the cuff of the rubber glove. It would be extremely dangerous if the cuff of one's rubber glove came into contact with their arm. Even in the rare circumstances where one must work in inclement weather, and it is possible that water can run down the sleeves and collect inside the gloves, it is never an acceptable practice to ever wear sleeves outside of rubber gloves. In some jurisdictions, it is a requirement per the utility to wear gloves, and in some cases even sleeves, when hot sticking 35 kV and below. There are some people who do not believe in the need to wear rubber gloves when using hot sticks, and in fact feel that it may be dangerous. Their contention is that with rubber gloves on, they would not be able to discern if the insulating properties of the hot stick were breaking down or were diminished. AB Chance is the foremost manufacturer of hot sticks in the world. Their guidelines state that anyone using a hot stick at distribution voltages should wear rubber gloves. There are simply too many instances of people getting severely burned when something attached to a hot stick became disconnected and started to fall. Instinctively, the person with the hot stick reached out with their hand to grab the energized item.